And so I literally, for the last 3 years, I have awakened or woke up to every single day. It's like, man, I'm living this dream out. And our athletic director, Chris Kraftic, we started, and I'm pretty high energy. And he was like, man, after a month or so, this is going to die down and kind of that honeymoon phase is going to be over. I was like, Chris, you don't understand. Like, this is never leaving, my man. Like, I have thought about this for so long and wanted it for so long and so bad. Like, this isn't like, oh, warm, fuzzy, cool feelings. This is something new. I was like, this is how it's going to be every single day for as long as I'm in this position.
Welcome to Building a Champion, where we delve into the minds and strategies of those who turn aspirations into reality. Today, we are honored to have Bradley Sowder. He is the esteemed director of the University of the Cumberlands cross country and track and field teams, joining us fresh from your triumphs at this year's national championships. You guys had quite the year.
Yes, thank you. Man, that's a cool introduction. No, we had an amazing year. And it needs to be addressed that like as much success as the men had, the women had just as much success. Men finished third with cross, winning indoors, outdoors. The women finished ninth and sixth in cross country, indoor and outdoors. So 3 top 10 performances there as well. And so it's not just lopsided, and the women are extremely hungry this year to see what they can obtain as well. So, yeah.
I love that. That is amazing. Well, take us back to that moment when those teams clinched those victories. What kind of emotions and experience was that for you all?
For me personally, it was 10 years in the making. I'm an alum from this university. I turned this job down twice. Just wasn't the right timing for my family and I, and just always wanted to have the opportunity that if I could come back here and have this position and be in this position, what that could look like, and so it was a dream come true. I mean, the indoor title. Somebody asked me a couple of days after it happened, just like, was it everything you thought it was going to be? And the answer was absolutely yes. I mean, just the raw emotions, all the thoughts, all the feelings, all the experiences. Everything that I had thought of for 10 years. And I live in a small country town back home, and there's this 6 mile route from my house, and it's this big loop, and I would run it, and it's almost spot on this one particular point of the road that you would just start thinking about the national championships. And like, what is it going to feel like? And what is just all the raw emotions? And almost for 10 years, every single day running on this road, I was kind of living it, and then to actually see it and experience it in real time, in real life, it was everything I thought it was going to be. And then with outdoors, like it was just a nail biter. It was just a huge back and forth battle between a handful of teams, and honestly, like going into the last day, it didn't look like it was going to be in our favor, and kind of just processing that of like, all right, how do we handle runner up? And again, what a huge achievement that would be too. And then the cards kind of just fell in our favor, and we win by 2 points. And just honestly, with that one, it was more just relief from exhaustion. I was just like, man, it was a lot. But it's we talk about taking our mission within this program is taking daydreams and making them real day events. And this is my daydream, being in this position and seeing this happen within this program in a short amount of time. And so it was surreal, but it was honestly very authentic and real at the same time, if that makes sense.
That's excellent, Bradley. So something that you said there that sticks out to me. Why did you turn the job down 2 times before?
Yeah. So the first time it was 10 years ago. And I had just started coaching at another school as an assistant. And I was being promoted to the head coach, and but always in the back of my mind is, University of Cumberlands, if they called, I wanted to take this. And we just had our second child, and we just bought 15 acres of land. We just started plans to build our dream home. And so it just wasn't right. timing's everything, they say. And that was, in this particular moment, was absolutely. And so I remember when the athletic director at the time, Randy Verne, called me. I was like, Randy, I've waited 10 years for this conversation. He's like, man, this is awesome. I was like, but I can't take it. It's just not right for my family and I. And he mentioned right before he hung up, he said, man, listen to me. He said, a no now isn't a no forever. And I'm thinking, yeah, right. Like, this is never going to come across my lap again. And honestly, like, I had a lot of resentment and bitterness towards God, towards my wife, towards myself, towards anybody that I could just point fingers at. I couldn't drive past the school and look at it. As we sit right off the interstate, and like, you're heading straight from Florida or Kentucky to Florida, you're passing the University of Cumberlands. Like, I couldn't look at it. And man, just growth and development over the last 10 years of, facilities and buildings and infrastructure. And I couldn't look at it because I was so angry. And then another time it was presented and it was just like, it wasn't the right time. It didn't feel right. And then honestly, I lost a bet with the Holy Spirit, got out of coaching, was actually a youth minister for 3 years, hated it. Like, I enjoyed what I was doing, but it wasn't, hating's a pretty strong word. I was miserable, honestly, because it wasn't my calling. It wasn't my passion. It wasn't my desire. And so for 3 years, talking about the road, like every day for 3 years, I ran the same road and it was the same prayer. All right, Holy Spirit, you know exactly what my heart is. You know my mind. You know my desire. You know my passions. Crap, man, like, you know the location that I want to be at. Can we please be on the same page that if Cumberlands ever calls me, it's going to be the right time and the right moment and the right situation for my family and I, that I can say yes. I had the approval with my wife. My kids were on board, but for 3 years, nothing at all. And did not expect it. I was actually picking up a Starbucks mobile order. We were heading to family vacation, and the assistant athletic director, was my college coach and best friend, great friend, but awful at calling. He never called me. If we were talking, I was always the one initiating the conversation. He called me, and my wife and I were godparents to his 3 kids. And I was like, crap, something's happened to one of the kids or something happened to his wife. This isn't good. Like, he doesn't call. And he called me and said, hey, like, as the university, we want to go in a different direction with our program, and we want to name you the next director of track and field and cross country. Just had that sense of peace and easiness. And honestly, I felt the Holy Spirit say, see, man, I've had you this whole time. Because, man, honestly, I was losing hope and starting to transition into, like, this is what I wanted to do since high school. This is what I was going to do for my whole entire life. And here I am 3 years out of coaching. And starting to kind of process, like, what is life going to look like no longer coaching? Because every year I'm getting older and every year I'm getting distant from it. And it's just not going to become reality. And and so I literally, for the last 3 years, I have awakened or woke up to every single day. It's like, man, I'm living this dream out. And our athletic director, Chris Kraftic, we started, and I'm pretty high energy, and he was like, man, like, so, after a month or so, this is going to die down and kind of that honeymoon phase is going to be over. And I was like, Chris, you don't understand. Like, this is never leaving, my man. Like, I have thought about this for so long and wanted it for so long and so bad. Like, this isn't like, oh, warm, fuzzy, cool feelings. This is something new. I was like, this is how it's going to be every single day for as long as I'm in this position. And so getting out of bed, it's really, really easy for me.
That's
amazing.
Awesome. What a faith journey. And thank you for sharing that testament.
Yeah.
Could you share with us those core philosophies that you think led to your team's success over, you've only been there for 3 years, not even yet.
Right. So how we look at it, like our mission, and as I tell people, especially recruits and their family, like my day-to-day operations from when I wake up to when I go to bed, and I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning, and I'll be up until about 11:30 tonight, is we're in the business of taking their daydreams and making them real day events. So, like, what is it that is keeping that daydream from creating into a real day event? For a lot of people, it's opportunity, expertise, guidance, support, maybe leadership. Honestly, a lot of it's maybe love. I got in this to be the coach I never had and always wanted. Up until my college coach, who's my closest friend, man, it was just like there was something always missing. There was a desire and passion to have, like, someone just, like, invest into, like, hey, this is who I want to become. This is what I want to achieve. This is where I want to go. Help me get there. Didn't have that. And so that's what we're looking to do, is partner with these men and women to give them whatever they're desiring and need to accomplish what they're wanting to accomplish. So that's our mission. Our DNA, which I think makes us us, because you got a million other programs out there. Not that we're the only one doing it right. I think there's multiple ways of doing things right. But for us, we're goal driven. Usually that's point B. And so like, all right, this is where we want to be. All right, now that we know that the destination, let's backtrack to where we are. What must we do to get there? That's a driving force. And so, we got 135 men and women within this program, and all of them have a lot of goals. And so my bathroom mirror is consumed with all these goals of these men and women. All right. It is our honor and privilege and responsibility. We need to ensure we're doing everything we possibly can to help them accomplish that. The second thing is student focused. I'm really advocate and passionate about, like, this is not my program. Yes, I'm the director of it, but that's just a title. This is our program. And everybody has the same amount of weight and investment into this program. And so it's student focused. What are they needing? What are they looking to do? What are they being held accountable to? And so it's not about me. It's not about us as a coaching staff. It's us, all of us that call this program family. And then we're measured by winning. And winning's everything. But winning is defined within this program as being better than you were the day before. And we really get, I'm try to be very captivative with words. Repeating is the key word there, because we're not just saying, hey, let's be really, really good by our senior year, or let's be really, really awesome come postseason. We're saying we want to be our absolute best every single day and repeating it. So how do we do that then? So we have 4 pillars. So these are all layers. The first one is we want to find the outer edges of our God-given ability. In a nutshell, man, we need to be eager with the amount of time we have. You can only be a student athlete for so long. We only have so much life on earth, and we don't know the expiration date. We don't know when this thing says time out, game over. And so we need to literally kick the ground running and roll with it every single moment we have. And so we're constantly telling, again, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds who think they're invincible and they have all the time in the world, no, this is very finite, and we need to be hungry for everything, mentally and emotionally, socially, spiritually, academically, athletically, physically. So we need to find those edges. Number 2 is we want to make sure that they're not just graduating, but that they're prepared. There's a big difference there. This is where we start to take a more holistic approach. You're not just a student. You're not just a student athlete. One, you're probably someone's son or daughter. You're someone's brother or sister. You're going to be someone's future spouse. You're a member of this family, this program. We just don't want to see you academically be successful. We want to see you successful, whatever that looks like. Third thing, and this is probably the most individualized to myself, is we want to build men and women of good character. They are representatives of this program, of this institution. And because I have the title director, man, everything they say and do, my signature's on it. Reflects me and reflects my family. And I want to be able to boast, hey, you hang out with this young man. Hey, you hang out with this young lady for 5 minutes. Life is going to be better because of that. And then finally, it comes back to winning. We want to be our absolute best version of ourselves. And so either we're lying or we have mathematically figured out how to do that. Well, mathematically we have. Holistically, man, we want you to be amazing human beings, ambassadors. We want you to be prepared, not just graduate. We want you to be hungry and find the outer edges of your God-given ability. And thus far, it's worked, because the results themselves, we're taking daydreams, making them real day events. I've managed the goals, ambitions, and desires of 135 men and women, and the goals, ambitions, and desires of this program, and 99% of them intertwine. Hey, I want to be All-American. I want to be national champion. I want to score these amount of points at conference. Cool. That helps the program out. And so thus far, for a little over 2 years now, that's what we've worked with. Mathematically, that makes sense to me and to those within this program. And that's how we're doing it.
I think I could use you as a life coach, Bailey.
Yes.
Some great philosophies there that you shared. What does it feel like? What are the emotions when you get to see those athletes accomplish those goals that they set forth?
Yeah, I tell people all the time, other than the birth of my 2 kids, which are the greatest things ever, it's the coolest thing. And that's where I geek out. I tell people all the time, I'm not a track coach. To stand there and watch somebody run in circles, that's boring. I'm not a track coach. I'm in the business of taking daydreams and making them real day events. And so to know the behind the scenes, to know the sacrifices and the decisions, to know the adjustments, to know the things we talk about all the time, like what do we need to add and what do we need to subtract to be the best version of ourselves. And most people, honestly, like most people are willing to do the work because they see the results. And so like they'll go to the gym and they'll go to the track and they'll do all these things because like, okay, if I do this, I get this. What really separates people is like, what are you willing to give up to be the best version of yourself? And so we tell recruits up front, like, listen, man, your Thursdays, your Fridays, your weekends, your sleeping habits, your nutritional habits, like your study habits, your circle of friends, all that stuff might completely change. Are you willing to give up that to be the best version of yourself? And that's kind of where like the rubber hits the road, if you will, because some people are like, yes, I'm totally buying into like, let's make this happen. And other people are like, man, that seems like it's going to cost too much. Well, then you're not as serious as you say you are about your goals and becoming who you want to become or have said about you or whatever. And that kind of makes it very cut and dry from day one. And I tell people like, listen, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to prepare you. Like this is who we're going to be. This is the direction we're heading in. This is where we're going to go. And so you're either like, man, this is awesome, or like, this isn't the program for me, and no hard feelings, but that's who we're going to be. And so to know all that, and then I'm the person, like I try to be on the track. I try to be on the infield. Like I want to be as close. I want to hear them breathing. If they're sweating, I want that sweat to be on me. Like I want to be that close to the action because I know how much this means to them. And so we talk about, man, we're taking moments and turning them into memories. And so what kind of memories are they creating? Because, man, when you take a daydream and you make it a real day event, you'll never forget that. We're talking about 18, 19, 20, 21 runners. They could be 50, 60. And it's like, man, you remember that? And boom, instantly. They could tell you the smells, the sights, the sounds, like the feeling, everything about it because they lived it out. And I'm just going to be in this really, really cool position to say, like, and on this day, I know what they were doing. And on this day, I know what they had to give up. And on this day, I know the conversations we had. Just the behind the scenes, super, super cool. Super, super cool.
The journey to a national championship always filled with highs and lows. Can you walk us through some pivotal moments in the season that tested your team's resolve and maybe how they overcame it?
Nothing ever goes perfect. And we have to expect that. And on paper, for indoor, on paper with the men in particular, like, okay, we're going to dominate. I had some coaches say, man, like we were trying to mathematically figure out how we're going to be second because there's no one going to catch you all. And as well as we did indoor, we didn't have a perfect meet. We still had some setbacks. And so we have to be realistic to understand, like, and here's the crazy thing. Like, I think it kind of starts with this. Like, I tell people all the time, like, we're not crazy because we run for fun. Because a lot of people, like, they look at us and like, oh, you run for fun? That's nuts. No. What makes us crazy is we're willing to do all this, and there's no guarantee. We're willing to be up at 5 o'clock this morning. We're willing to run 100 miles a week. We're willing to really stay focused in class. And I've got guys that, like, they avoided having girlfriends to stay focused and diligent on the task at hand, the goal, the objective. That's crazy to a lot of people. But there's no guarantee. Like if you do all these things, you make these adjustments, you increase this, you subtract this, that you're going to get this reward. In society, I think, especially in America, like we have this mindset, like if I do the work, I'm going to get the reward. That's not how sports works. Sports isn't fair. It's very, very cruel, honestly. And so it's like we're not guaranteed. We don't deserve. We're not going to be necessarily given. And yet we show up every single day with no guarantees, with no certainties that all this is going to pay off. And so there's a lot of growth and maturity that comes along within the season. And then with outdoor, it's, again, we really saw it like we weren't the favorite team. Even though we were ranked number one going into the national meet, in my mind, as soon as indoors was over, I was like, man, Marion, this is a program that's more suited and built for outdoor nationals. And up until the very last moment, they were number one point total wise. They had a phenomenal program, and hats off to them and their coaching staff and the men that they had assembled and had bought in. But it was just, how are we going to handle all these things? And again, not everything went according to plan. There was a lot of points at the outdoor meet that we just left on the table for others to take. And um, I'm probably not the right person to ask because I'm very emotional. I wear my thoughts and emotions on my sleeve. And so, like, um, I wasn't the cool, calm, collected guy on Friday because it's like, man, we're not going to win here. And I don't know how to handle that, full transparency. And so it's like, I'm trying to keep my cool and I'm trying to mathematically figure out, like, how are we going to make all this work? But it's a process that, we had to work through. And then there's just life lessons. Like, um, we had some situations where it's like, guys, like, this is what I mean when I tell you, like, we've got to be locked in. We got to be focused. We are so close to something really, really historically big that none of us have ever experienced. And so, like, not that I live in fear, but we've got to be smart. Like, you're double looking when you're crossing streets. You're, washing your hands way more than anybody else probably is in college. Like, you're going to bed at these certain times. You're just not paranoid, but like, we can't jeopardize something that is so big, and something that's so big beyond just ourselves. Like, one thing we definitely kind of preach about is like, no one's bigger than the program here. Um, and so that really starts to put in perspective of like, okay, we're going to jeopardize a few of our own maybe selfish ambitions for the greater of the program. That was a huge process with a handful, because again, we're dealing with 18, 19, 20, 20. What about me? What am I going to get? How's that going to help me? Well, it's not about you. It's about this program. And then, obviously everything kind of worked out the way it did.
Appreciate you
Now,
sharing that.
not
Go ahead. Go ahead,
not
Jordan.
only did you guys clinch those national championships, you also got quite the title yourself of Coach of the Year.
Right.
Yeah, that's very singular and not a true reflection. Again, I'm only one piece to this puzzle, and if I'm contributing anything at all, it's the vision that I'm casting of, okay, this is where we are, this is where we want to go, this is how we're going to get there, and this is when we're going to get there. That sounds cool, but again, it comes back to like where it's student focused. I could say all the right things. I could have an unbelievable budget and an unbelievable athletic director, but until we have people who understand and believe and more or less buy in to say, okay, we want this just as much as you do. We're willing to make those decisions, those sacrifices, the adjustments, the adds, the subtractions. If we don't have other coaches put in place, if we don't have a supporting athletic director and athletic department and president, like, it just goes well beyond just coach of the year. That's just one piece. It did not hurt me to write training. It did not hurt me to watch that meet. I mean, some of these guys went to the well. Some of these women, they really put their work in and really had to turn some things around to make this happen. Yeah, again, I'm just in a really, really cool position to know the behind the scenes and all the stories and journeys that these men and women have made to be in this position. And so, yes, it says coach of the year, but it really should say staff of the year or program of the year, or, man, just if I'm the representation of the success that this program has had, may everyone else know of like the men and women that have made this journey possible. That's what it really should be.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, though, it certainly helps recruiting to win a couple natties, doesn't it?
Yeah, recruiting is, for one, I absolutely love recruiting. I think you either have a love-hate relationship with it. You talk to some coaches, they're like, I hate it. It takes 80% of our responsibility as recruiting. I love it. It's a challenge. It's us versus all these other schools that are trying to woo and entice and obviously gain a young man or a young woman's presence within their program. So I love that challenge and that hunt. But it has tremendously helped with the recruiting process. It just, I mean, we've got men and women who are reaching out to us. Man, honestly, now we have a waiting list of people who want to be a part of this program. National champions, All-Americans who want to transfer, or, man, we see what you all are doing and we want to be a part of that. Like, that's a huge just compliment that, again, these men and women have created on their behalf for this program. And yeah, so it's, we can't, our biggest mistake we can make was if we allow this to come to our mind and we start to settle. Worst word in the English language is settle. We still need to stay hungry. We need to still stay grounded and humbled and focused on, like, we just started. This is not the pinnacle. This is just it opened a few doors for us. So we got to stay diligent and focused. And so, yes, we're receiving a lot more text messages and phone calls and emails, but we are on the ground nonstop. Like, who is out there? Who can we find? And can we bring them into this program?
Well, finally, looking ahead, how do you plan to sustain this level of excellence, and what can we expect from the University of the Cumberlands cross country and track and field teams here in the upcoming seasons?
Yeah, so the ultimate power move is to win all 6 titles in the same year: men's and women's cross country, men's and women's outdoor, men's and women's indoor. It is pinnacle enough because no program in any division, Division 1, 2, 3, NAIA, JUCO, has ever done that. I would like to see us do that in a handful of years. After we won the first one, I had a one-on-one meeting with our president. He's like, man, do me a favor and like take a day off. And I told him, like, straight faced and serious, like, I'll take a day off when we win all 6 in the same year. But until then, there's no time off. And so that is the driving force. And I've shared that with our athletic department. I've shared that with the men and women of this program, the coaching staff. I've got a journal, kind of just my thoughts on paper. And the very first page of it is, what must we do to win all 6 in the same year? There's not a blueprint because no one's ever done this before. And so one thing I'm doing is studying kind of, I don't like the word dynasty. I think it gets, I don't know, it's not the right word, but like you see, I'm a Red Sox fan, but the 1950s and 60s Yankees, like these guys, they won nonstop. The Bulls of the 90s, the Patriots of the late 90s and 2000s, like how did these programs, and even further, like you go to cross country or track, like NAU or other programs, like how have they made these runs where they're very consecutive year after year after year, just that consistency. What did they have? And then, like, when it stopped, what was the pieces or what was the positions that caused the dynasty or the lineages, if you will, to kind of stop, to kind of learn from them. Because the thing is like, okay, if you win 6 in one year, what do you do next year? You win 6 again, and we win 6 again and 6 again. And then we start to have some things. Okay, maybe we win by 10 points. Can we win by 20 points? Okay, maybe we have 40 All-Americans. Can we have 60 All-Americans? Like, the biggest thing I think that we could make a mistake with is become complacent. Sure. And just kind of like, all right, we're here. Like that. I never want that to be our mindset or our attitude. That's definitely not going to be mine. And so it's always striving. It's always hungry. I was quick to say this year on day one, like, guys, what we did last year, that was cool, but that was last year. Like, if you're talking about that steel, we have problems because your head and your heart is not in the right place. Looking at this year, I think on paper we have a really good shot of winning 4 out of 6. And how cool is that? Like, I shared with the men and women, I was like, I'm pretty confident in saying, like, I don't know there's another program out there who's talking about, like, we could win 4 out of 6 titles this year. We are. Legitimately, I think we have a legitimate shot of doing that. And can we be in the conversation to have all 6 programs on the podium? So that means, 2 cross country, 2 indoor, 2 outdoor. We have the men's and women's programs both standing on the podium. They're both top 4. I don't know if that's ever been done in the NAI. I don't know if that's actually been done on any level. And so can we maybe be the first, or definitely be the first for us to do that? And so we have to come up with new and exciting, creative ways to, like, challenge ourselves. But we also, we can't, what we did last year was last year. And we're not trying to duplicate that. We have a whole entirely different set of guys. We have a whole entirely different set of women that we're working with. Can we take the experiences and build off of them and learn and adapt? And but we've got to be forward thinking and forward focused nonstop. And the day that we become complacent or think, oh, we've made it, that's probably the time I need to resign and bow out for sure.
You're not competitive at all, are you?
No, not a bit.
It's I tell people it was the last day of outdoor nationals, and I'm sitting in Starbucks that morning. And I've got a group chat with my college coach and best friend, who's one of my bosses, and my wife, the two people that are closest to me. And I'm a huge espresso person, so I'm like 3 cups in, 9 shots in of espresso, and like I'm trying to write my thoughts down because like really on paper it's like, man, we just need some things to go our way. And it drives me crazy because luck is not something that we can control. There's not a mathematical equation for it. And everything to me has a mathematical equation, even the supernatural, which doesn't make any sense, but that's another podcast. And I'm just trying to put the pieces together. It's like, man, like this just doesn't look good. And I don't know, I've written 4 or 5 messages and just deleted them and finally got to the point and I sent a message and it's like, I don't want to win to win. I want to win so we don't lose. And it's more the fear of losing that drives the passion to win, not just to win. The crazy thing, and this is my cross to bear, like as soon as we won, I was thinking of cross country. And like Dr. Temple, my best friend and assistant athletic director, like he kind of jumped on me. Like he gives me this big hug. I was like, hey man, I can figure out cross country. Give me 10 minutes. And he's like, Bradley, he's like, stop. He's like, we just won our 2nd national title. Like, do me a favor and enjoy this for the next 10 minutes. But like within it, I was already thinking about the next one. Oh. And had we lost, I probably would have been thinking about it for 3 months straight. That's not good. That's my own personal, flaw there. And so I need to learn to enjoy it. But yes, it's a competitiveness to, we don't have time to waste. Man, like third time's a charm, I guess, in a sense. Like I turned this job down twice. I did not think I would be in this position. And so when I got that call, like it just, it changed. Sorry. It changed everything, man. Yeah, it changed everything. And so, I don't say this to brag, but like I've had 7 D1, D2 programs reach out to me in the last 2 years. I've turned them on. Like I love being here. And I don't lose sight of that. The Holy Spirit has given me something that, I could never imagine that it would be this cool. And I pray diligently that I never lose sight of that. And so that is a driving force to be our absolute best, to be my absolute best. And that, again, that's winning.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Coach Sowder, for sharing your insights, your dedication to excellence. Truly inspiring. We are so excited to see where you and your teams go from here. I have a feeling we'll be hearing those names, that team name, a few more times here. Remember, champions not just born, they are built one victory at a time. This has been Building a Champion, brought to you by Pro Track and Tennis, and we'll see you next time.